at 2:47 a.m. On the 21st of October 2025, deep inside the Bryansk Air Defense Network command bunker, an exhausted operator sipped his cold coffee while staring at the steady green sweep of the S-400 radar. For 48 hours straight, the system had reported 0 threats. Everyone inside felt secure, unaware that just 78 miles away, their sense of safety was about to vanish forever. 3 Storm Shadow cruise missiles, each weighing 2,900 pounds, tore through the night sky at 600 miles per hour. But they weren't escorted by fighter jets. Instead, a swarm of 20 FPV drones flew alongside, serving as a live-streaming camera crew, broadcasting every moment of this hostile takeover in crisp 4 kelvins. Their destination, the Bryansk chemical plant, the lifeblood behind 40% of Russia's rocket fuel. It powered everything from the Kh-59 cruise missiles to TOS-1 Ampere thermobaric launchers. The strike wasn't impulsive, it was data-driven. The night before, a Ukrainian recon drone hacked into an American satellite feed and pulled thermal signatures from orbit. The drone found exactly what intelligence was looking for. The furnace glowing at 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, proof that the plant was running at full production. Moscow's operators sat comfortably behind what they believed was an impenetrable firewall of 400 seconds and Pantsir batteries. Ukraine, however, was preparing a digital denial-of-service strike with 2,900-pound warheads. So how could 3 missiles slip through a defense system able to track a baseball from over 100 miles away? The secret lay in a tactic called the multi-angle swarm, a plan so cunning, so audacious, it would soon make Putin wish he had spent his billions on fire insurance instead of air defenses. At 2:30 a.m., the operation kicked off with one last intelligence check. A modified Bayraktar mini-drone, launched from an unmarked truck near Sumy, glided toward the target, tasked only to confirm the furnace's heat signature, the same 1,800-degree inferno. Once confirmed, the verdict was clear. The target was hot. The mission was a go. With confirmation secured, the main strike was unleashed from 3 directions. From the south, 2 Su-24 bombers dropped a pair of Storm Shadows. From the west, an Akunu heavy drone launched the third. These missiles didn't soar high, they hugged the terrain, guided by a system called Turprum that scanned the landscape ahead and adjusted altitude in real time, flying barely 100-200 feet above the treetops. From the east came the final act, a swarm of 20 low-cost FPV drones. Their mission was simple: fly straight at the Russian air defenses, jam their screens with noise, and die gloriously as decoys. They were the sacrificial pawns meant to soak up the first wave of Russian missiles. The stage was perfectly set. 3 stealthy missiles skimming low under the radar, masked by a noisy swarm of disposable drones. Russia's billion-dollar defense network was about to face attacks from 3 vectors at once, and none of them where they were looking. At 2:35 a.m., the S-400 radar, built to detect stealth bombers 250 miles away, picked up a faint blip. But it wasn't seeing the real threat, it was seeing exactly what Ukraine wanted: the loud, chaotic signature of the FPV swarm.
The targeting data
was handed to the Pantsir S-1 crew.
On the system's last line of...
immediately. 10 interceptor missiles
its
streamed
operator
into the sky at over 2,300 miles per hour, ripping through the swarm. 5 drones exploded mid-air, a flawless intercept on paper,
it's
but
a
financial
textbook
disaster
kill.
in reality.
But it's also
Russia
a terrible...
had just spent a fortune shooting down a $25,000 distraction. The shattered drones plunged into the Desna River, spewing thick black smoke. Unintentionally, they created a natural smokescreen, a dark curtain masking the true attack, still racing low and fast.
It's an unplanned but natural smokescreen for the real attack still. But the Russians aren't just sitting back.
Convinced they're under a major drone. 35 fighters, Russia's top air superiority jets roared off the runway, tasked with hunting down the launch platforms. The decoy drones were drawing the heat, but they were also being destroyed. The hunters were airborne, yet the Storm Shadows were still miles from the target. At 2:40 a.m., Russia had swallowed the bait, but Ukraine was ready to push the illusion even further. The 15 remaining FPV
to escalate
drones
the
activated a software upgrade, running a Kalman
This is where the genius of the multi-angle
digital
swarm
sleight of hand that made each cheap drone look like a $1.5 million Storm Shadow missile on radar. Think of it as a real-time deepfake for radar, tricking the system into believing the smallest blips were massive missiles. The Pantsir's threat software, built to prioritize the biggest and fastest targets, instantly took the bait. Its operators
designed to
panicked,
automatically
calculating firing
prioritize
solutions against ghosts, while the real missiles slipped right through. It was like a corporate spam filter getting duped into flagging every internal memo as a critical virus, while the real malware slipped straight into the CEO's inbox.
They're being
As
tricked
Panzer
into
chased
flagging
Phantom targets,
every
the
internal
three real Storm Shadows kept flying undetected, hugging the dense forests of the Desna. Their Turum guidance systems functioned flawlessly. This wasn't plain GPS navigation. It combined real-time route optimization like Google Maps with precision terrain mapping akin to a Mars rover, letting the missile read the ground beneath it and remain concealed. At 2:45, the Russian commander activated the final defensive
The deception
layer,
was working
the Kazuka
perfect,
4
but Russia
electronic
had a...
warfare system. It unleashed a
At
186
commander
meter
made the
wide
call to
jamming
activate
storm, scrambling GPS signals in a desperate bid to blind the incoming missiles. Instantly, the GPS links guiding the Storm Shadows disappeared normally, a death sentence that would send
causing
them
it to
miles
fly
off
blind
course.
and miss by
But the
miles.
Storm Shadow wasn't a standard munition. The moment GPS was lost, its onboard systems automatically switched to backup navigation, an inertial navigation system, INS, coupled with digital scene matching, DSM. If GPS is like Google Maps, INS is an ultra-accurate internal compass and odometer that tracks every tiny movement from launch. DSM
It's
served
like
as
having the
final
entire...
verification.
But the Russians weren't just
missile
attacking the
carried
middle.
preloaded high-resolution imagery. Think of a full street view of the target area. Its camera grabbed a live frame, matched it against satellite data, then executed a pinpoint course correction.
Launched another...
The result: sub-1 0-foot accuracy, with or without GPS. But the Russians were not idle SU. 35 seconds, now free from drone
Forms were
clutter,
being
finally
actively
picked up
hunted.
faint returns on the Ukrainian Su. 24 seconds as they pulled away. At the same time,
With Russian
the Panzer
fighters hunt,
crew,
but they were now
realizing they'd been
exposed and their
tricked,
launch
fired another
It was time
volley
for
and
Ukraine to
destroyed
play its
3 more
final and most
deepfake
expensive
drones.
card.
The missiles had survived the electronic assault, but exposure
Revealed
left
their
them
true
vulnerable.
purpose.
Their launch platforms were now being hunted. By 2:50 a.m.,
It's
with
a
Russian fighters in
$300,000
pursuit and EW systems at full power, the mission reached its make-or-break point.
It's the
It was time
military's
for
version of a
Ukraine's final
perfect
and
digital
most
twin.
expensive card.
An expensive
EG,
avatar
29
sent...
seconds, assumed to be mere escorts, revealed their true purpose. They launched ADM-160 MAL decoys. These $300,000 flying supercomputers perfectly mimicked the radar signature
button
of a
for enemy
Ukrainian
air defense.
Su-24. They acted as expensive digital twins, costly avatars sent into the enemy system to draw fire. Then Ukraine
The
launched
Su-35
HARM
pilot,
missiles,
seeing
weapons
what
that
looked
don't
like
hunt
a
aircraft,
perfect
but hunt
textbook
the radar
target.
that guides them. Think of HARM as a targeted unsubscribe button for hostile air defense networks. HARMS trailed the radar signal back to its source and effectively deleted it. The effect was instant and devastating. The Su-35 pilot, seeing what looked like a textbook target, banked hard to chase the
Feet
decoy
with
into empty
or without.
airspace.
But the Russians
On
weren't
the
just
ground,
attacking the middle.
S-400 operators now hunted themselves, were forced defensive, and broke their locks. The chaos carved a noise-free corridor. The 3 Storm Shadows, now unopposed, converged on the Bryansk plant.
Copy that.
Each missile had a specific mission assigned by Ukrainian intelligence. One for the rocket propellant warehouse, one for an MLRS assembly line, and one for the searing 1,800-degree heart of the facility, the TOS-1 Ampere furnace.
Feet with or
Russia's
without.
entire air defense network had been methodically dismantled. Now came the final, devastating payoff. At about 2:44 a.m., the 3 Storm Shadows executed their terminal command in perfect, synchronized
with
violence.
or without. But
A
the Russians
superheated
weren't just
plasma jet
attacking the
punched
middle.
through 20 feet of reinforced concrete, followed 1.1 seconds later by the main charge. Detonating inside sealed structures turned the factory into a pressure cooker. The blast wave amplified itself until buildings tore themselves apart from the inside out. The missile that struck the 3,000-degree furnace acted as the ultimate ignition source, sparking a catastrophic chain reaction.
The deception
that
was
cooked off
working
roughly
perfect, but Russia
25%
had
of the propellant stores. The firestorm obliterated 5 MLRS assembly lines, turning critical machinery into charred wreckage and sending a toxic chemical plume down the Desna River.
It's an
Instantly shutting
unplanned
down a
but
50-mile
natural
logistics
smokescreen for the
corridor.
real attack still.
FPV
But the
drones
Russians
circled
aren't
like
just sitting
vultures and
back,
captured
convinced
every
they're under a major drone.
$700 million moment. The first confirmation came from orbit. NASA's firm satellite detected a thermal anomaly so massive it couldn't be denied.
Kill the
But the
launch
most damning proof
platforms.
surfaced online Russian telegram channels flooded with shaky cell phone videos showing fireballs lighting up the night. Eyewitnesses describing the explosion as apocalyptic.
At
While
024.
social media buzzed with undeniable evidence,
This is where the genius
Moscow's
of the
official
multi-angle
response was
swarm
silence.
truly.
The Kremlin's crisis communication strategy was simple: pretend it never happened. But you can't hide a 40% drop in ammunition output. Frontline troops would soon discover the truth when their artillery requests came back with nothing but an error code. The real devastation wasn't the $700 million inferno visible from space. It was the
designed
chain
to
reaction
automatically
that crippled Putin's
prioritize
logistics empire. According to the Hudson Institute, the destruction of the Bryansk facility instantly wiped out 40% of Russia's artillery propellant supply,
and began
thousands of Grad and Urigan rounds now sat useless in warehouses. This created an immediate supply
being
freeze.
tricked into
Convoys in
flagging
Kursk and
every
Belgorod
internal
stranded, waiting for materials that no longer existed. The chemical spill into the Desna River paralyzed the Southern Railway, the steel spine of Russia's logistics. Within 72 hours, fuel for Kh-59 cruise missiles dropped by 20%. It was the military equivalent of Amazon's main fulfillment center burning down the entire delivery network.
The deception was working
In
perfect,
panic,
but Russia
Moscow had to make an impossible decision. Analysts from RUAF
At
intelligence
O2 Commander
reported
made
that at least 2 S-400 systems were pulled from the Kursk front to guard what remained of Bryansk. Every redeployed S-400 created a 250 square mile
causing it to fly blind and miss by miles.
An open door that Ukrainian HIMARS crews walked straight through, leading to a 15% surge in Russian equipment losses. Moscow was forced into an impossible
It's like
equation.
having the entire
Protect your
Google
factories
Street
or
View
your
of the
soldiers,
target
and
area.
ended up failing at both. Beyond the $700 million loss, the strike shattered the myth
But the
of
Russians
Russia's
weren't just
invincibility. While state media labeled it a technical incident, satellite images showed fires raging for hours and local
Launched
telegram
another
feeds overflowed with videos of the apocalypse.
Forms
The gap
would be-
between propaganda and reality fractured trust
with Russian
across the
fighters
chain of
hunting
command.
in their but they
The
were now
psychological domino
exposed.
fell next.
It was time for Ukraine
Putin
to
was
play its
forced to
final
delay
and
his
most
Grand
expensive.
Donbass offensive. The strike had ruptured his logistics,
Revealed their
drained
true
morale,
purpose.
and forced billions of rubles to be diverted into patching the hole. Ukraine, meanwhile,
It's a
was already
$300,000
preparing to exploit that weakness. Through the multi-angle swarm,
It's an
Ukraine
expensive
proved that
avatar.
modern victory doesn't depend on a billion-dollar air force, but on intelligence, precision, and exploiting the enemy's blind spots. They turned Russia's fortress into its own
It's like
funeral
having the
pyre,
entire but the
rewriting
Russians weren't
rules of
just attacking the
asymmetric
middle.
warfare in the process. What do you think will be Ukraine's next strategic target? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you value this level of debriefing,
Launched another
hit like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next time the Kremlin's
What do
bill
you
comes
think is
due.
the